Hello everyone and welcome to our next video of Appian interview questions. So let's deep dive into it and move on to our first question. Suppose we need to update 1 lakh rows of data on a daily basis in a week. How can we do that? And what would be the optimized way to prevent any impact on performance? So this is basically a scenario based question, and the interviewer wants to know whether you are good at optimizing the existing process or you can think out of the box to create a new functionality which might not be implemented yet. So think accordingly and drop the answers in the comment. Let's move on to our next question, that is, we have an Excel file having 200 columns and 50,000 rows. So what approach will you follow to create a functionality to upload this file and show this data in the interface in a read-only grid? So although Excel file can be uploaded at once, but there is one limitation of showing the data on the grid. While you are uploading the Excel file using any smart service which you are thinking right now, so that might have some limitations. So think of an alternative way and answer accordingly. Drop your answers in the comment. Moving on to our next question, that is, what is the limitation of using MNI? MNI is multiple node instance in a process model, and the next part is when to use MNI. Right now you might be thinking that the limitation of MNI is currently in your mind, what you are thinking, but that's not the case. Check the documentation and get your answers updated. So moving on further to our next question, that is, which Appian object don't have permission levels or security? Like there are certain Appian objects which require permission, such as groups, folders, right? So there might be certain objects as well which don't require permissions, like they don't require administrative or viewer level permission, or they don't need any security to be configured. So what are those objects? Although you are working on them right now, but think of it. So moving on further to our next question, that is, suppose we have 1,000 instances on production and we want to edit them. They might be paused due to some exception or due to an error, and the business don't want to lose the data, so they have allowed you to edit them on the production itself. So how can we achieve that? You cannot manually do this task. You need to think out of the box to achieve this functionality. So think of it right now and drop your answers in the comment below. So moving on further to our next question, that is, suppose we have 100,000 entries in an Excel file, and how can I dump this data into 5 different database tables? Now that's the tricky part over here, that although you might have 100,000 entries, but you need to dump this data into 5 different database tables. So how can you do that? There might be something, right? So think of it and let me know your answers in the comment. We will be coming up with a video where we would be providing answers of all these interview questions to help you excel in your interview. So moving on further to our next question, that is, can you tell me the difference between rollback and commit inside the database? Like what are the different commands which can be rolled back? Like although there might be some commands which cannot be rolled back, but what are the different commands which can be rolled back? So research a bit, learn a bit, and provide your answers in the comment. So we have our next question over here. What are the different types of production issues which you have encountered? So although some of you might be working on some production issues, or some of you might not have encountered any production issues, but it is important to know that what can be the possible production issues which can come across in Appian. So moving on further with our next question. So in case of stored procedure with input parameters, is there a way to assign default values to them if they are not passed while execution? So let's say we are using a stored procedure with input parameters. So is there any way to assign the default values, in case we are not passing them from where we are calling? Let's say we are calling them from a process model, so we are not passing the values in the stored procedure. So is there any way to have a default value for those stored procedure? Yes, there it is, but you need to provide your answers in the comment and think of it and research a bit. So moving on further with our next question, that is, what is a materialized view and how can you create one? Although there might be a different type of views, but the question is about materialized view. Thank you everyone, and we will be seeing you soon in our next video where we would be discussing the answers of these interview questions. Happy learning. Bye bye.